Yo, we're back with another win. Another one. Now what's up, man? What you got to say now? Listen, man, as much as we want to say all these different storylines, and there's a ton of positive stuff to talk about this game. But let's just start with, to me, the most significant thing, which is something that you called out and you said, watch out for, and boom, we saw it. J-Dub in that fourth quarter. Money. That's why we won this game. I mean, everybody else played their part too, but like we needed somebody in that fourth quarter to step up and stop the leaking ship that's been all season.
Yeah, I mean, 11 points in that fourth quarter, and that's exactly what we got called on him to do. And I mean, if you think about his 7-8 minutes in that fourth quarter, maybe a little bit longer because he came in at the end of the game. I look at that 7-8 minutes right there as being like the moment that we all got to see what Coach D really wants from him, because he didn't score at all in the other 19 minutes of the game that he played.
But he played well.
But he wasn't being called to do that, though.
Right.
You know, he was being called to be next to, Dort and next to Shai and next to Josh Giddey. And then all of a sudden that fourth quarter, it's like we cleared the deck for him. Like it was like, hey, get Dort out. Get Josh out. Let's see what he can do. And then Josh went back in the game, and he still kept on scoring. He still kept on taking over. And then Josh started taking over, you know. And then you saw this crazy 1-2 combo of Josh and Jalen Williams. And J-Dub and Josh was spectacular, man. I think Josh had 2 or 3 threes in that fourth quarter. You know, like he drove to the hole hard. Him and Jalen played off of each other so well. Listen. Like, that fourth quarter was big for Jalen and Josh together. I mean, we can talk about Jalen all we want and loving it for what it is, but without Josh as his sidekick there, he doesn't go off for 11 points. I mean, he doesn't get, you know, the 3 or 2 assists that he had in that fourth quarter as well. So I love it, man. I love what Coach D is doing out there. I love the fact that he's finding the groove. And when we talked about it last podcast, and we had a listener pop on and kind of laugh at the fact that I said that we have a chance to win 45 games or 40 games. I understand. I get a little carried away sometimes, and that's cool. Like, but it's about recognizing sometimes there's, in a season, in an NBA season, I feel like I can look back, and most of the time I can find one team that wins 40 games that was unexpected. Most of the time. And most of that time is a young team in there. So I look at this and I say, what is that young team this year that's going to do this? What is that one team that's going to win 35, 36? And the listener said that he thought that this team could win 32 to, I think, whatever it was. But listen, what's the difference between 32 and 40 wins at the point where this team is going? You know, the difference is the last 20 games of the season. 28 games of the season. That's the difference right there. And I think that's where this team puts everything together, putting it towards the playoffs, and goes on a spectacular, 20 out of, 29, 30, games. That's what I think that this team could do. And where we get from that point is, who knows, but I get it. It's not a popular decision to say that this team is going to win 40 plus games this season. But the potential's there. Now that we found that missing piece of who's going to come in that fourth quarter to really stop that leaking ship, like you said. I think we had 20 points between Josh and J-Dub in that fourth quarter when they scored, 27 total. That was the difference. Yeah. I mean, that was the difference in the game right there. So you look at it and you can sit and you can say, like, we expected this from that or this and that. But push comes to shove. Last night, second quarter, 2 minutes to go, or 2 minutes into that second quarter, we watched Rudy Gobert get ejected from the game. And I want to say this is fuck you, Roddy. Fuck you, Gobert. Whatever the fuck your name is. I don't give a shit. The fact is that when you trip a player like that, that's bullshit, man. That's a dirty fucking move. And I understand you're frustrated with the season, the way it's going, and the fact that you're only, 1.5 games ahead of the Thunder. But to go and trip somebody like that, that's fucked, man. Go fuck yourself.
Yeah, there's a lot of stuff going on with that game. A lot of technical fouls. Then the Timberwolves really felt like they got ripped off with that offensive foul. It was a good call.
They challenged it.
I forget who the guy who drove, but like he put an elbow in our guy's chin. So I mean, you can say whatever you want about him moving, but if that happens, but anyway, let's talk a little bit more about J-Dub, because in a big way, like, he's become the story of everything, and rightfully so. Even though Shai put up, he's tied for the league leading, 30-plus point games and all this stuff, and, we're watching it. But, like, one of the exciting things about J-Dub is looking at him and saying, like, where's his talent, and how, what's his trajectory. And when I look at him, and everybody's saying, hey, he reminds us of a young SGA. The thing about SGA his rookie year is, like, he wasn't doing this type of stuff. Now, he was having games where he'd have 11 points, but it was like he would pick his moments, right? And he was a very good driver. He could attack closeouts. He could get downhill. He knew when to pass it, and he knew how to finish when he was open. And he shot confidently when he was required to in late shot clock situations. But there wasn't any, like people were wondering, can he be a star when we traded for him? Like, there was, like, this question, and, like, everybody working with him knows he has that potential, and it will surprise everybody. That's how they talked about him when we got him. But as a fan of his back then, just because I like players who understand how to play the game at a high level, and you could just see he was thinking at a higher level than anybody else on his team, like, you start kind of, like, looking at it and say, what about J-Dub reminds us of SGA in this moment? And really, it's the more polished version of SGA that we're looking at. We're saying, oh, J-Dub has this element or this element. I mean, but in the end, nobody should be compared to another person, especially somebody else on their team, right? And I think, like, for me, when I look at it, I'm looking at, like, young Kobe when I watch J-Dub play. Like, there was a moment for the Lakers, right, where where Jerry West had to make a decision. Are we going to keep Eddie Jones, an all-star, and bring Kobe off the bench? Or do I trade Eddie Jones to the Heat and make it so now Kobe can start? Right? Sometimes you have to make these types of decisions. And yes, like right now, J-Dub is, working within, whatever, he's getting some starts. He's, like, getting his moments. But at some point, you're going to have to clear the deck for J-Dub, because there's no holding this player back. There's no playing him on the bench, like for a long-term part of his career. This guy absolutely needs the ball in his hands at the most important moments in the game. There's no doubt about it. He has ice in his veins. He gets to his spots. He shoots with complete composure over some of the best defenders that, maybe not in the league, but he's ever seen, because he's such a young player. And he's doing it in these big moments. He's doing it in opposing places. And he's just like he shows the emotion, but he's never there's never like that look on his face like he's shocked that he did something. It just looks like a young man coming into his own and declaring himself over and over again. And I'm just like, we got to step back, and we just got to say, like, the reason I even mentioned, like, Kobe, and maybe that's not fair, but it's like his elite athleticism. That dunk he had the other night, like, that reminds me of one of those dunks that, I don't know, like, everybody remembers Kobe's up and under his rookie year that was like, oh shit. Like he did that with a different level, right, than we've seen in a long time, going back to maybe, Dominique or something like that, or MJ. Like, certain people elevate with different levels, right? Mm-hmm. Now, does he have a limit? I don't see why we would say he has a limit, man. I'm talking like he could be like legit, like great, all-time great shooting guard names. Like, you're talking about Michael Jordan, Kobe. He has that level of athleticism, talent, ability to do his own thing. Like, why are we saying, oh, he's like a young, like, SGA, when SGA didn't even hit, like, the ability to do some of these things until, like, a year ago or 2 years ago, some of these things. And some of the stuff he still can't do. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, J-Dub has his own level. And it's going to be up to Coach Daigneault and the rest of the players to empower him. But in the end, like, by far the steal of the draft. Shout out to Thunder Dave with his YouTube video about, saying it's time we start talking about J-Dub for Rookie of the Year. And some people might say it's, he doesn't have the point average, and I understand that. But everybody who's watching knows that as long as he stays healthy, the next half of the season, he's going to hit the accelerator because this team is starting to find him, and he's starting to attack with intention, and he looks hungry, man. He looks really hungry.
Yeah, and I love the fact that you compared or are looking at J-Dub like a Kobe, because here's the reality. I look at, if we're going to compare anybody to Kobe, I feel like we can't even mention anybody without saying Shai and Kobe. And the reason I say Shai and Kobe is, one, the way he attacks the hole, the way that he can knock down the three-point shot, his consistent output of points, right? Then you look at J-Dub and you say, okay, what type of player does he remind you that we've seen in history? That 6'6", 6'7", shooting guard that has the ability to play point guard, that has the ability to get downhill as quickly and finish mid-range. And you start saying, okay, there's a very, elite, very few guys that we can sit there and compare him to. And that's what gets excited, because if I'm sitting here saying I've got to compare him to a first-year player, and where his trajectory could be, is I look at J-Dub, blasphemy, I know people are going to laugh at me, but I look at J-Dub, the way he can dominate and everything else like that, as a Michael Jordan-esque type player if he gets down and keeps going. Now, I know that that's a long way for him to go.
Let me just ask you this, bro. Let me ask you one question. How long did it take Michael Jordan to develop a three-point shot as good as J-Dub's?
Well, but that's my point, is that we're in a different game.
We're in a different game.
And if I'm looking at just the way that he goes downhill and attacks the hole, right? It reminds me of Michael Jordan's sophomore year at North Carolina. And it just does, right?
Absolutely.
And you can go back and look at the film of what I'm trying to say, the way that he goes baseline and finishes, the way he gets above the rim so easy. There's so many things that I look at and I say, okay, is J-Dub a year behind of what, Michael Jordan it was as a, rookie in the NBA? Possibly, but I see so many ideas that could happen. And then you start saying, okay, guys, whoa, you guys are getting out of control.
Yeah,
well,
we're getting out of control. But hey,
listen, in order for you to have a championship caliber team, you have to have a Batman and a Robin. You have to have 1 and 2. You have to have a Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown. You have to have Klay Thompson to Steph, or Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen. You have to have that. So, am I saying that we're looking at J-Dub and Shai as our Batman and Robin of the future? And I think you'd have to be crazy for you not to say this is possibly our 1-2 big time combo punch of scoring right here. That's going to be getting that Michael Jordan and Scottie Pippen-esque type of, respect. Yes, J-Dub is smaller than Scottie Pippen, but I see him playing that small forward role. I see him playing that switching to power forwards, doing whatever it takes, because unlike these other guys, he has a 7'2" wingspan, 7'3" wingspan. It doesn't stop at just one spot. It doesn't stop just one area. He doesn't stop at just being a point guard. He doesn't stop just being a shooting guard. He doesn't stop being a small forward. He doesn't stop at power forward. So where's his ceiling? Are we literally talking about having maybe the greatest 1-2 punch in 5 years in the NBA? Yes, I am.
And you're not mentioning Giddey in this spot. But
we're focusing on J-Dub and we're focusing on Shai right now, because I feel like this is where it needs to be.
About great teams, you can be like, hey, a lot of them will have 3 great offensive players, 3 elite offensive players, right? And one team you mentioned, but you didn't mention, the KD version of, was that Warriors. But that's when you talk about having 2 alphas offensively, and then instead of having an option C, you have option B,
sure,
who's right underneath, right, with Klay Thompson, right? He never went down to option C.
Sure.
And I look at it basically somebody had to give up shots, right? And so that ended up being Draymond. But for our team, we could have that offensive 3-headed monster, because we know those shots that Giddey was knocking down from the perimeter, 3 threes tonight, his ability to attack, get to the rack, and then he uses that runner in the mid-range so effectively that there's no, like, you can't stop guarding him. And if you have a player that, like, Rondo, or, you know, one of those guys that teams just, like, back in the old days, Rondo, right, where everybody just go way back on them and not guard them and almost get, like, a defensive 3 seconds from guarding the guy with the ball, right, which is a dangerous situation to be for your offensive movement, right? If Giddey never ends up in that spot. And that's why it's so important. And it's why we kind of have to keep, like, you know, punting, you know, Mikey every time, and Andrew every time we get a chance, because the truth about it is we have to look at people who are negative Nancy's, who go around and say, oh, they missed that many shots, because look, Dort's season's turned around. It's no longer a smart thing to say that Dort's a bad shooter. Like, I saw the stats. It was like he started out 11 or 12% shooting. Now he's shooting like 43%. He was killing it, right? And then all the people who were like, I wish Giddey would stop shooting. Well, then he goes out and does this. Like, the key is, the most important thing, and I think it's why we as fans have to, like, take a really strong stance, is that these players continue to shoot. It's not that the ball goes in. If it was only the ball goes in, then yes, there'd only be 3 players who are allowed to shoot. But for their development, they have to continue to shoot and continue to work on their shots in practice. And the only way they're going to get better is if they keep shooting. So, yeah, we knew Dort was ready, and it started out slow, but we didn't stop believing. We know Giddey is going to continue to improve, right? And you can see him, like, roaring like a lion out there when his shot's going down, and he's ready to take on a bigger thing. Like, and then you have so many good guys who are willing, depending on if their numbers are called or not, to get out there like Kenny Hustle and make an impact on the game. And I heard Coach Dagnall after the game in an interview say he felt like the difference in the Spurs game was that Kenny Hustle started the second half, and he imprinted his defensive mindset on the team. And we saw what
happened last night.
Exactly, bro.
And what happens last night? He scores on Gobert, probably says something to him as he's getting up, and then Gobert kicks his feet out from under him. I mean, like, this is the type of leadership. Listen, doing whatever it takes to win. Like, listen, I get it. People will say, well, he should have never said anything to him. I understand that. And when I was in high school, I probably should have never pulled down a guy's shorts every single time we're at the free throw line. And so the time that he pushed me over, and it's right in front of the ref, and got tossed and got 2 technicals, I probably shouldn't have done that. But we're down 3 points. I'm going to do whatever it takes to get back in that game. And you're seeing Kenny Hustle do that same type of mentality. Like, yeah, we're up, but we got to get him out. 6 points in 9 minutes, 4 rebounds, 2 offensive. I mean, he's going to kill us. How do we?
He took 3 charges, and then he also got Gobert thrown out, which is another type of charge.
Yeah, like, listen, this is exactly what we need. We don't need guys that are going to go out there and score 20-plus points a game coming off of our bench. We need guys out there that are going to do whatever it takes. Now, if they throw in 15 points and go 2 for 3 on 3-point and 6 for 7 on field goals, then yeah, hell yeah, go at it. But if you're not scoring well, right, and you're only getting a bucket here and there because, in a way, it's not a good defense that you're going against for your the style that you play, you're still going to see Kenny Hustle go out there and hustle. Last night was probably the first time. Well, never mind. I say that. He had 2 offensive rebounds as well. Like, every single time he goes out there, he's getting an offensive rebound. I was looking at Trey Mann's stats, and I saw that he didn't have an offensive rebound. I was like, holy shit. Kenny Williams didn't have an offensive rebound playing 21 minutes. That shows you, like, I expect if he's going to play 20 minutes, he's going to get 2 offensive rebounds. And that's 2 extra possessions. And in a game that it's only a 7-point game, 2 extra possessions is everything.
Plus 3 charges. Plus, when Gobert got ejected, we got the ball back.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that's 4 extra possessions there. So 6. I mean, look, Dort used to be this guy. Like, last season, the seasons before, where, like, there would be 3 possessions in a row, the other team didn't get a shot off. Now, he doesn't get the same level of, like pivotal moment kind of thing, but he's still getting those charges called on him regularly. Not on him, like on the screener. Yeah. Dort is, but like, now it's Kenny that kind of comes in and says, like, I'm going to make an impact 3 possessions in a row, and it's going to flip it. And then the fourth quarter, I really think it was J-Dub, right? He went out there, and it was just like like you said, they cleared the deck. They said, go out there and do your thing. And, you don't want to forget throwing in like good credits for Ousmane Dieng. I felt like he played good minutes. Trey Mann, he knocked down a shot, but really more importantly to me was his defense. Yeah. Like he was able to turn things around on the defensive end. And when he does that,
got an and one,
like things will start going. It comes with, like for Trey, it's all going to start there. Right. And then that shot, like we know he's going to have games where he knocks down 5, 6, 7 threes. But in the end, whether or not he gets enough minutes is going to be all on the other side.
Yeah, and I know there's a lot of people that say that Bazley need to gets more minutes out there, but Bazley's sweet spot, guys, is 15 to 25 minutes a game. That's his sweet spot because we're not expecting him to go out there and score 15 points. What we're doing and expecting him to do is be a defensive stopper and get rebounds. That's it. Last night played amazing. Like 5 points in 15 minutes. He had 1 block, 1 steal, 3 rebounds. Great.
How many shots
job.
did he shoot?
He shot 4 shots. He was 2 for 4.
So there was one drive where I thought for sure he was going to miss the shot. It was like a slow motion drive. It reminded me of those old Jeremy Grant drives or even some of the recent Bazley drives that don't always turn out well. But
sure.
I think it was the fourth quarter. I think we were down by 8, maybe 6.
Okay.
And it was just a slow motion drive. And then he put it in, and it really felt like it was a pivotal spot in the game. It was like, yeah, other people can do it and stuff, but whether or not like they were going to guard him, like came down to how effectively he, converted that drive.
Sure.
It was a tough drive. It was a physical drive. There was a lot of, pushing, and then he just had the finesse at the end. And this goes back to what I was saying about Dort. Like, I've heard a lot of people talk shit on Bazley. Like, he was the youngest player in the draft, I believe. He was a most unknown. He didn't go to college. He sat out a year and all this stuff. And then it's going to take him longer.
Yeah.
And we're starting to see some dividends. I know it's only 5 points, but it's the team play. It's the defense. It's the rebounding. And then when your number is called upon in the late shot clock situations, you go and get your bucket. Then that's what a team who's going to be deep in the playoffs, they have to be full of those types of guys.
Sure.
That's why Robert Covington is such a valuable player. That's why Rondo was. I mean, it's not about them going out and putting up 28 a night. It's about them being capable of whatever their team needs at any moment.
Yeah, man. And we saw some big minutes by our starting big guys, too, JRE and Poku. Let's go with JRE first, man. I have to say this. When JRE scores double digits, I'm usually assuming that he hits 1 or 2 threes, but he attacked the hole so well last night. It was all downhill for him. He got 2 steals. He got 7 rebounds, 5 of which are offensive. I mean, he's just a beast, guys. Like the more he gets to develop into the system, the better he gets. I get so stoked with the idea that JRE is going to be in that mix of coming off the bench, starting, whatever we need him to do. He's always there. He's always willing to help out. And he's really taken on that like, as players are coming in to the system here, he takes on that captain role of making sure they get everything they need.
Right, that's what we heard from the rookies, right?
Yeah, I love JRE, man. I love the way that he leads out there. He had 29 minutes and they were all earned. Just a great job by him.
Yeah, man, and I loved his transition buckets where he, when he's moving at full speed and he looks like a guard out there, you know, it's great stuff. And you said that thing about him, being in contact with the players, and that's important. I sent you a couple of videos that the Thunder produced about Chet and him kind of like really immersing himself in the community already. And I don't know how all this stuff works with like the Thunder PR team and stuff, but this is the first time I've seen anything like this that one player put on. So I'm assuming that this is Chet's idea. There were 2 things he did for foster kids in Oklahoma City. One thing was he gave out jackets for the winter, and they looked like pretty good jackets too, man. I could use a warm jacket like that. But then the other one is he did like a Thanksgiving dinner for everybody that he could. I thought that was a pretty cool thing, man. I feel like this is the type of stuff, like a player being active in the community when they have a few minutes, a few weeks, months before they'll be able to get out there and play, it's going to make an impact. And I heard Chet talking about, people in the community who really wanted him on the team, who wanted the Thunder to draft him. And basically that he heard those people, and he feels like he's been supported by this community for longer than just the draft. And I thought that was pretty cool.
You're baiting me.
No, dude.
You're baiting me right now. I like it. I'll take it because I'll take this bait any day. First of all, let's just talk about it. Let's just be honest. Does he look like he's 5 months away from being ready to play? Hell no. But I do think the Thunder are going to take their time with him. And if we see him this year, it's only because 17 and a half doctors have cleared him. And that's it. I mean, that's
all right, so you're talking about that Twitter.
No. We're not. Don't do it. Don't do it. Anyways,
what are you talking about?
That being also being said, I do think that we're in no hurry to get Chet back, and we've been in love with his game since day one. We had podcasts.
Okay, let's not talk about.
But we had podcasts coming out, a month before the draft that we were like, it's Chet, and everybody else is like, Chet's going number one, and we're like, no, he's not. He's going to the Thunder. And
we thought Jabari could go number one, and we were wrong about that too. But, bro, let's put this whole Chet stuff aside, okay? And let's just talk about Chet the person, okay? Like the whole basketball thing, like, yeah, I want to see that, right? But like, I feel like when you go back to the first round of great Thunder players, right, these types of activities were a hallmark of what Kevin Durant did and what Russell Westbrook did. And even I feel like Serge Ibaka, Kendrick Perkins, you'd always see them involving themselves in this type of stuff. That tragic tornado in Oklahoma that hit that school and more, Kevin Durant donated $1 million after that. Like, I can't think of many people who have donated $1 million, for anything like that. I know people donate money, but that's an awful lot of money, and I don't care how much you make. That flat out is. And that's the type of stuff I feel like, yeah, it doesn't have to be $1 million, right? It can be a pair of shoes. It can be a dinner. It can be a jacket. It can just be letting, these kids know that you care. Yeah. And I mean, I can't imagine how much that means to a kid to be like, yeah, Chet gave me my jacket, or Chet gave me, Thanksgiving dinner. Like, I have autographs from stuff, when I met people, like that type of stuff impacts you. And you start, thinking that means something, right? Yeah. And I don't know if it always does, but, let's jump back. I'll let you talk, and then we'll jump back to basketball in a second.
No, I think you're right, though. You're watching Chet do this when he has this off time, and it's great to see. So,
and it'll keep going. We know that.
Yeah, and it's not going to stop. It's going to be known as like whatever program that Chet decides to start in Oklahoma City. Just like KD had his program. And Chet's program will be pretty amazing as well. And I love it, man, because you can see this team being full of these guys, whether it's J.R.E. or Dort or Shai, Josh, Baisley, J-Dub, Osman Jang, Kenny Williams, Trey Mann. All these guys are designed in the way they think and the way that they accept the community to have and give back to the community. And I know that for a fact that if they're doing like a coat drive or something like that the Oklahoma City Thunder is hearing about it, and they're like, how can we help you? Is there anything that we can get you in contact with the people? Like, these are the things in the organization that it's so powerful to have. And I'm excited, man. I'm excited that these guys get an opportunity to see what's happening here, because it does make an impact. It's during the season, and he's out there being an ambassador to the team. What better way of doing that, and giving back to the community. And I'm excited. Let's go back to basketball. Let's talk about Poku, man, because the more I see from Poku, and the more I get excited, whether it's him getting to the hole in a fadeaway jump shot on Gobert, or whatever he's doing, it seems like right now he's understanding the game. He had 3 offensive rebounds, 8 rebounds total. He had an assist out there. But really, man, just his way of attacking the hole and that funky motion, like it's that, I don't even know how to explain it. It just throws big men off. Like they don't know what to do with it. And then we saw a fadeaway from him last night. That fadeaway, bro.
I watched that like 3 or 4. Fade, bro?
What's that?
Was that a Dirk fade?
I listen. It's one of the best impressions to a Dirk-esque fade. I mean, his leg didn't go out as far as I would like to see with Dirk, but I'm all right with it, man. I was happy to see it. I mean, I was happy to see that he's added a move like that. Like, that's the biggest progression that you want to see from big men is every year you want to see one or two things that they learn, and then one or two things they learn during the season. We saw it from Karl Malone. You know, we saw it from these guys that are those big forwards that, you know, when they're off season or during the season, they would pick up one or two things, and that thing could not work next year, you know, but you still have it in your tool shed. And I think that's the thing about what Poku is doing is he's learning how to utilize his moves right now. And listen, Gobert is not a chump. I mean, he's not. I mean, he's one of the better defenders in the league, if not the best defender in the league. And Poku gave him a lesson, and it was fun to see.
Yeah, man. You know, I think about like where this team, you know, felt like we were at when the news of Chet's injury came out. And, you know, we were wondering, is this going to take a lot longer than we thought? But as we've seen, like, very similar to the previous years or previous year, we got 4 players in the draft, and all 4 turned out to be very valuable players. Now, some are on a different timelines, but in the end, we picked up 7 players, and we have Chet coming next year over the last 2 years. When you watch our team play, it's like you're usually like rookie, sophomore, veteran, or, you know, 2 sophomores, a rookie, and 2 veterans, or like there's all sorts of combinations. But usually, you know, you're talking about multiple first or second year players, like up to 3 or 4, sometimes 5, every single time out, every single night after night. And we're getting incredible production from these guys. So while on some senses, like, we can look at previous examples of great teams in history and say, like, oh, they had 3 guys that were, you know, the premier guys during their dynasty, right? Mm-hmm. I think one of the better examples is to look at the San Antonio Spurs and how they won theirs. Now, it's easy to say, okay, Tim Duncan was the best player in all those, right? But the reality is they won 4, right? I think they ended up winning 5, right? But my point is 4 with Timmy, right? And they got 1 with David Robinson, and they got 3 with the other group, right? And the other group included Tony Parker, Manu Ginobili, and was there another guy that was there all the time? I mean, probably not. You got to throw in Popovich and Steve Kerr, Robert Horry, right? There's different guys, but at different points of those championships, different players were the best player, right? There was that year that was Tony Parker. There was the year where most years, nobody had an answer for Manu. But in the end, right, like, his unstoppableness had a peak. There were times when it was just, you know, David Robinson, you know, teaching Tim Duncan. And my point is that, like, we don't have to be like, oh, there's only 3 players that are, like, the offensive go-to guys. Like, our offensive system really is designed where, like, different people at different times will be peaking. And that won't necessarily mean that, like, other guys aren't getting their chance. That's what's unique. And that's why we need to kind of, like, let it develop and understand that, going back to what you said, like, yeah, we want Shai to be Kobe, right? Everybody wants to be like, oh, which one's Batman, which one's Robin. And that's what happened a lot with KD and Russ. And it wasn't always a good thing. And I remember it was like, look, I really think Russ is an MVP level player. Yeah. And it was like, no. Only KD can be the MVP. And it kind of became a thing, right? And I don't want to see that kind of stuff happen again. Like, with this, you can say, because we all live in a post-Kobe world, just like we all lived in a post-Michael Jordan world a while ago, like, and still do, but, like, you take and you say, like, there's similarities in this player's game in this way, and this way. And there's similarities with this player's game in this way, and this way, and this way.
Absolutely.
I would never hear anybody say, Shai dunks on people and it reminds me of Kobe, right? But you say Shai's ability to score 40 points inside the arc and on any night, man, that's a lot like Kobe, right? So J-Dub comes around with a different set of things, right?
Yeah.
So what? Like, we can have two players that grew up idolizing Kobe and say they're both on a trajectory to help this team win in different ways that resemble Kobe without either one of us getting in a fight, right? That's the important part. Like, we support both players, not at the expense of a different player, right?
Yeah, man, you're absolutely right. And, you know, watching this team develop and recognizing, okay, we just went through 23 games this season, all right, which is roughly a third plus. So I don't know, whatever, just under a fourth of the season, right?
Mm-hmm.
Some plays around there. Anyways, we're 10-13. Okay, so we times that by 3. That puts us at 30 and 69, or 30 and 39. All right,
30 and 69.
69, 30 and 39. Right. Okay, so if we're looking at that, all right, and we still have what 13 games after that. Okay, like there's a legitimate chance that we could get to that 40 game win mark. It's a legitimate chance that we could get to that 35 game win mark. You don't
have to defend it to me. Like, I 100% agree. Here's what I've been saying. You guys ready for it?
It's the development of this team that's the key, guys. It's the understanding of us moving.
Is a 10-win month for us. If we win 10 games in December, bro, tell me anybody's going to be arguing that we can go on to, win 40 games in the year. Buckle up, everybody. December's a 10-win month for us.
I mean, if we stay healthy, I could see us getting between 7 and 10.
We just won without Shai. Like, my point is, like, you're right.
But that wasn't in December. That was November.
But my point is, though, like, and yeah, you're right about that. But, like, just simply that we no longer are one player deep as far as wins go.
Sure.
We can have other people step up. That first half against the Spurs had me questioning it, but we saw it. We saw the transition. We'll get back there, bro, for sure. And I really believe that this is a 10-win month. So everybody call me out when I'm wrong, right?
I've always felt like January or March were going to be our 10-win month. February to me is getting kids healthy, getting people healthy. We've seen it happen before where one of the guys have been down and like, okay, we can rush him back for 2 games before the All-Star break or just give him an extra week of healing. So getting guys healthy is the key in February. But March. You
want to hear the December schedule, bro? Let's run through it. We got the Hawks tomorrow. We got the Grizzlies, the Cavs, the Mavs, the Heat, the Timberwolves, the Grizzlies. 2 against the Trailblazers, Pelicans, Spurs, Hornets, and 76ers. And one of the reasons I thought this was available is because I looked at the strength of the schedule, and it's one of our easiest runs of the year. And I'm just like, we could shock everybody. Flip this whole thing about, 500 basketball on its head and be really looking in like a good situation going into January. Let's see it, baby. Let's see it.
Yeah. I mean, you'd be putting yourself in a 20 and 17 record right there going to January, which is outstanding. But like I said before, I have a hard time thinking that this team is not going to win at least 10 games in March. And in order for us to get to the playoffs, we have to do that one more time. That's it. We have to have 2 months that are 10-win months, or having, 3, 7-win months. That's what it takes. You need to go 3 months that are 500 or 2 months that are 10-win months. We know
it better happen before a certain time, or we're going to see the players get shut down. Right? Like, if the players want to make this run, they know they got to do it. But here's the thing. I don't think that's the truth necessarily. I think that if we don't win a lot of games in January, right, I think in February we get healthy, okay? Right. And I think in March we could come out and we could still put up 32 wins, 33 wins. And I think that's in my opinion, that's something that you should hang your head on. Like, to be able to go from, 20 plus, 22, 24 wins to 30 plus wins. I mean, that's something you can be proud of for the guys. But that's only if we can't stay healthy in January and February. But I have a feeling that these guys are ready to go. And it's just not, we're not going to see Shai go down very much. We're not going to see these other guys. We might see him miss a game or so, but it's a planned rest. So if somebody else owned our pick, then we could bet okay, we're not going to, but since we own our own pick, that's why I just look at it. And if like we find ourselves and we've tripped through 2 months of the season, we're not going to like bring Chet back. You know what I mean?
No.
Like we're not going to,
no.
Nothing's going to happen. Like we're going to
I don't think Chet's coming back. I think that he's shut down for the season.
How come you keep bringing it up? And then when I say it, you get all like,
the only reason he's not, like I said, is that all these doctors, right, get together and say, with Sam Presti and say, it's not going to hurt him to come back. And it's February. That's the only reason. Because if he's going to try to come back in March, there's no reason to bring him back for 14 or 18 games. There's a reason to bring him back for 25 games, but there's not a reason to bring him back for teen games. And that's why I look at it like how quickly is he going to be getting ready? And the way he was shooting, the way he was moving on the court, I got to say he's 2 months away, and if that's the case, then you're Sam Presti's seriously saying, what are we going to do with this? Because he's going to be ready a month and a half earlier than I thought he was going to be. And that month and a half is a long time during the season.
Man, if we can keep him out of pro-ams and I'm just thinking
out of LeBron's way.
Well, yeah, but
when LeBron's coming down the lane, just run.
There's a point in the season where it's just like, absolutely, there's no way you would want to bring some back because everybody's gearing up for the playoffs, right? But like you said, February is kind of like that point where you could start to look at it if he's cleared all the way. Much later than that, it's probably not worth it. But we're getting carried away again. We're getting carried away because when he went down, we knew, once again, it would be another opportunity. And then we circled J-Dub. We're like, we really think he's ready to make a big push. And it would be really hard to notice him right now if you were having Chet out there. Even if he was putting up stuff like we were, it would be really hard. So it's a special time for him. It's a special time for this team. This is going to be the month where I think everybody starts to kind of look at us like we're serious. Like, we're not out of this. And you look at our position, we're not in a great position, but we're just a few games from flipping that. So
I think
that's great.
And I think I'm, thinking going back to Chet coming back here eventually, whether it's next season or whatever. I'm excited about him coming in and just plugging in as one of the pieces and not being so focused on scoring, because we do have Shai, we do have J-Dub, and when you're out there and everybody's expecting you to score and score a lot, there's a lot of pressure, especially for a rookie. So to be able to plug into the system that we have, I mean, this could have, I couldn't have hoped for a better situation for Chet to be coming back into, Like, take your time to develop. We're not in a rush. We're watching J-Dub and Shai and Josh and Dort and Poku and everybody else just develop very quickly. They'll be on the pace with you, momentarily. But just take your time. And I think that's the thing about the way this organization really is stood out for us for all these years, is how they take care of the players. Like, whether it's Golden State or whether it's the Nets, these guys, they get rushed back from an injury only to lead them to a more serious injury. And that's the one thing I'm so grateful for, is that we consistently see playoff basketball. And the reason is because these guys are being taken care of. Shai, 35 minutes last night, led the team. That's huge. To be able to expect our guys to play 35 minutes instead of 48 minutes, it's big, man. Like, these guys get these extra minutes of rest. It means something, especially in an 80-game season where 4 or 5 extra minutes a game rest adds up to multiple games. I mean, it's huge.
Yeah, and like going back to how we started this whole thing, watching that group that started the fourth quarter close the lead. Because going back to the game, man, like, we started the game good. We held the lead all the first half, really, and then that third quarter, it felt like that Boston game when Boston just said, here's our strategy. We're going to pick on them. And that third quarter was tough. Like, they were taking the ball away from us at a higher rate than we've seen probably since then, or maybe one other game this season where it's just like they were just taking it from us. And it was that's when you look at the youth and you're like, they got to continue to hit the weight room. They got to continue to go through some of these trials and learn through these experiences. But in the end, that fourth quarter unit, I think we were down probably 8, something like that at one point. And then when I looked at it, 5.5 minutes left, coach is sitting there and Shai's still not in the game. And
we're down 12, I think, at one point in that.
And we had closed the gap.
Yeah.
And it was like all of a sudden it felt like for the first time this season we were putting Shai in to be our closer.
Yeah.
Versus it's been a lot of times where it's like, okay, go catch up. And that's a closer's job too, but like that's so much energy. And then like he can win it sometimes, but like the level of play that we're going to get from him if we can give him support is going to be exceptional.
Yeah.
It already has, but you see it.
And I loved how when we were having a trouble scoring last night, you know, J-Dub stepped up and went straight to the hole, you know, pull up jump shot, you know, fade away. I mean, like he has so many amazing things in his you know, I call it vocabulary of hoops, but it's the way he plays, the way he understands, the way he goes out there, and it's just fluent, you know. And I've been around people in my life where they've known like 6 or 7 different languages fluently, you know, and it's just like boom, 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 and it's like, wow, that's really impressive, you know. And I could never, you know, I don't even know English well enough, so like I'm not even gonna go try and learn a different language. But you see somebody like J-Dub that understands the game in such a way that it's like him speaking language, and it's so beautiful, and it's just like passionate, and it's boom, 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 and you're like, holy cow, like can he consistently do this? Can he consistently go out there and put these numbers up when he drives to the hole and 4 for 6, getting to the hole off of 11 points, but it's how he drove to the hole that was so impressive, you know. Right. And then his pull-ups, his getting fouled at the getting to the free throw line. There was so much that he's doing right now that you can't help but to stop and being like, okay, yes, J-Dub is not only special, but in our lifetime, when you're looking at who's the potential to be next to Shai as the Batman to the Robin, like you could say Chet, but Chet's still the unknown, you know, like he's still the unknown. And you're looking at the rest of the team and you're like, Josh Giddey, yes, Dort, maybe, but really J-Dub, I mean, he's the one that stands out, because when you're thinking about the offense and the way it goes and the way it's fluent with Shai, at either side running the system and driving into the hole and dishing, and then J-Dub on the other side, like, I mean, has there ever been a duo, a combo, 1-2 punch that has the potential of 2 guys that are under 25 years old that these 2 guys can beat? And I don't know. I don't know. I can't think of a time in history that we've seen that we've had 2 guards that have, in a way, a similar way of going about that fit the system perfectly. So young in their careers. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in 4 or 5 years when these 2 guys are at the start of their peaks. You know, like, what is going to happen? Are we literally talking about one of the greatest combo guards in history to have Chet and Poku and Dort to all back them up? Like, that's disgusting.
Oh, for sure, it's going to be. And
is there, I mean, if this is the way it's going to go, and we're looking at Chet as a pure defender, which I know he's so much more than a pure defender, but let's just say, for fuck's sake, right? He's a pure defender. Okay, you get Poku, pure defender. You get Dort, pure defender. And then you got everybody else. Josh Giddey. You got Shai. You got J-Dub. You know, you got your attackers of downhill. Like, nobody can stop Josh when he attacks downhill. You know, like we talked, what was J-Dub's greatest weakness? He wasn't being aggressive with the ball. You know what Josh's greatest weakness? He doesn't attack downhill enough. Those 3 guys attacking the hole, it could be the most nasty offense the league has seen since... I don't know, man. Like, I don't know. Like,
it'll be a modern offense with, you know, some incredible players, and
because we don't need to hit threes to win games. And in a time that everybody's so focused on shooting threes, yeah, we go out there and shoot 30 threes a game, but if we're shooting 40% with 30 threes a game, that's acceptable.
Yeah, for sure.
You know, and to me, I'm looking at it like we shot 26 threes last night and 100 total shots. That is what we're talking about, guys. You know, like, what else do we need? This offense, as it gets better and these guys get understanding of what they need to do and how they need to go, it's all going to start rolling together. Wins are going to triple, quadruple. And next thing you're going to know is you're going to be sitting there going, like, are we looking at this? You know, when we had KD and Russ, when we start whispering, like, could this be one of the greatest duos of all time? Could this be it? Could this be it? Could we get KD to sign? You know, like, if he had signed back, man, it would have been known as one of the greatest duos of all time. It already is known, but it would have been known as the greatest duo of time in that aspect, because they would have got multiple championships. They would have figured it away, you know? And what could have been was that close. Now, I'm looking at it and I'm saying, this team has everything that we need. We have the defensive stoppers, you know, like, up the wazoo. We have the hustle guys up the ass. I mean, we have guys that are willing to do whatever it takes to win games. And that was the thing that, I mean, last time that we were in this position, what we were looking at? We were looking at what? Waters, Dion Waiters, I mean. Yeah. I mean, he was our hustle guy. Like, what the fuck? Yeah. You know, like, like, come on. Like, we need an organization that decided at all costs it was going to get the players that were going to back up these guys, to make them better. You know, like, we don't need Poku taking, 20 shots a game. We don't need Shai taking 20 shots a game to get to 33. He had 17 shots last night. I mean, this is what he needs. Yeah. You know, he doesn't demand a lot of shots. He gets to the hole and he scores a shit ton of points. And guess who does that as well? J-Dub.
Yeah, and for a player like J-Dub, right, like, there's always a trajectory a player will go. Now, there are exceptions, like if you're the number one pick, they might just, like, throw you out there. But generally speaking, first you have to prove that you can defend your position, right, and you understand the defensive schemes. Then you have to prove that you're not a liability on offense, right? Because even if you are a liability on offense at first, if you can defend, they'll keep playing you, right? And then once you prove that you're not a liability, then you have to prove that you're capable of imposing your will offensively. Now, a lot of people don't get there. A lot of people just get stuck at step number one. But if they can prove that they can defend, they'll play for a long time in the league. If they can prove they can defend, and then they can, do what they need to offensively, then they're going to get paid very well, and they're going to play for a lot of teams, and they might have a chance to get a few rings. If they can do the next step, they have a chance to be a superstar. So we're not saying for sure at this point in this, like, most people don't even know who he is yet, but he's already gone through step one and step two. And for Shai, it took a whole year for him to go from step one to step two. Yeah. Right? Like, that's a normal progression. Well, so that's why we're saying buckle up.
Well, and we're talking about 2 games. And yes, we get carried away because we're super fans. All right. And I know that there's people going to be laughing at me for saying that J-Dub is like the Michael Jordan, a young Michael Jordan. I get it. All right. I understand that it's not going to always make sense. But we look at this team, and we have always looked at this team with a positive side. Like, what can this team be? Yeah, if we wanted to look at J-Dub and say, what kind of bust could J-Dub be? We could do that. But that's not what we focus on. That's not what we like to think about. We like to think about these guys and the potential that they have in the future. And if J-Dub, the maximum potential, what is J-Dub's maximum potential? And if we're saying if he becomes that maximum type of player, then yeah, he's going to be that 25 to 30 point scorer a night that's unstoppable at the mid range, that can pull up from anywhere, that you have to put in the conversations as, one of the greatest shooting guards the league has seen. And that's his potential. Okay. I mean, that doesn't mean that he's going to get there, but we like to sit here and dream about it. And that's what this is. That's what this is looking at J-Dub and saying he's figuring it out. Like Mark said, the 2 steps. He's figuring out the NBA. He's figuring out at his pace. He's not, right now it's that fourth quarter that we're expecting him to do stuff.
Which is that's how unusual is that?
But that's all we're expecting. But as the season goes on, it's going to be, hey, we would like you to do this in the third quarter when Shai's out. or in the
just
second
think
quarter.
About it. Like,
and
when
then
have
it's
you
going to
seen
be
that happen with a rookie in the fourth quarter, bro? Where they're like, okay, we expect you to go out there and be a scorer in the fourth. Like, I can't think of anybody like without them being, like I said, the number one pick, and they decided we're going to have you skip these things, and we're going to just throw you out there in the fire. And it's like, it ends up being a player like Allen Iverson or Shaq or whatever, you know what I mean? But the truth is, to be able to defend at a high level, go through the trials that he has to get to where he is, not from a rookie, bro. I've never seen this from a rookie where they defend first, they make the right play every time, and then it's like, okay, now go out there and do your thing, and they're capable, and they were just holding it back. Usually it's the other way around. They go out and they try to do too much, and then they're like, okay, we need to get you to defend, and then like, he's doing it like Tony Allen did it, but he's got game like Michael Jordan. All right, stop it, Mark. Stop saying those names. Stop.
No, but the way that he breaks the game down, the way that he understands it, the way that, like, we're not expecting him to do a lot right now. Most of his shots were in that fourth quarter. We're expecting him to do this little, and then all of a sudden it's like, now you're getting the flow of how everybody else goes. J-Dub, yeah, you understand it. Yeah, now we want you to attack like you do with that second unit with Shai in the game. We don't want you to get the ball and pass it quickly to Shai. We don't want you to get the ball because, like, listen, guys, say what you want about, J-Dub and these other guys. These rookies have been idolizing Shai and Dort, and these other guys have been playing there for a while. They've been idolizing them for the last few years, So if you look at J-Dub and you're saying, oh, well, Jalen Williams, he doesn't idolize Shai, you're crazy. He does. So if he gets the ball and Shai's open, and instead of J-Dub attacking the hole, he passes to Shai because Shai's open, and then Shai, passes it again. Like, that's what J-Dub's doing right now. But when he gets more comfortable in his skin, and all of a sudden when you see Shai get saying, hey, you need to attack the hole, which he's already doing, and I'm seeing that communication happening already, then it's going to start happening more and more. And then it's going to be like, well, our best player, our best defender has to guard Shai. Our second best defender has to guard J-Dub, and those are our two guards. So then now we have to go and think about Josh Giddey.
Right.
Well, the problem is that they have to have a small forward on Josh Giddey, and Josh Giddey's going to blow by every fucking small forward.
Baby.
Yeah. And then what? Their power forward's going to be guarding Dort? I mean, this is what's going down, guys. Like, this is how the team is structured in such a way that we team up against anybody in the NBA with a combination of one of 8 different starting squads. Really. I mean, like, I've never in the history of the game have seen anything like this. Like, again, JRE, Poku, Dort, Shai, and Giddey. This has to be like the second or third time we've used this starting lineup. Tops. In 23 games.
Yeah.
It's crazy. Like, we are literally, like, our starting lineups are changing to who we are playing against. And I dig it because it allows people like J-Dub to show his colors in different ways of being able to say, you are the second team. And he's like, oh, yeah, well, I can show you some purple with the second team. And I can do this and I can do this. And, he's a painter out there, guys.
Yeah.
And he's just throwing paint on a canvas and trying to see right now what sticks. But like with every painter, with every athlete, once they figure out the game and once they understand their role, it's time to shine. And that's what's happening right now is he's figuring out his role in this team and he's starting to shine. And it's starting to be like, holy shit. Like, could J-Dub seriously be a top 5 pick in the redo at the end of the season? And I have to say, I mean, you'd be crazy if you're not thinking that.
Move him up 3 spots, baby. Hey, but I love your analogy. I dig it. I dig the idea. He's a painter. He's an artist. This is a canvas. When you hear Shai talk about the game,
painters mix their own paint, real good ones mix their own paint and grab like stuff from out there. That's what Ollie's doing. He's grabbing purple. He's grabbing reds. He's grabbing, what can this mix and this mix and this mix? That's what he's doing.
I've heard Shai say, like, he doesn't think about the move he's going to make. He's acting on instinct, and he's just played enough basketball. He watches enough basketball, and he just goes out there and he plays. right now you can see J-Dub getting to that point where it's not coming naturally because it shouldn't be natural. Like, if it was natural, then he would be like LeBron out there, like, from day one. But, like, he's starting to decide. I think he's having those moments where he's looking at it and Shai's giving him the ball and saying, go. And he's like, that's Shai. He's telling me what to do. I'm going to go do it. His coach is telling him to. So he's stepping up into these moments, and we're enjoying it. So, yeah. J-Dub, man. The fucking artist. That's what it's at, baby. That's all we got to say, bro. You got anything else?
Yeah, guys. Shai, Josh Giddey, J-Dub.
Amen.
That is the future of this Thunder squad, of a scoring Thunder squad. I mean, I know people will say Josh Giddey is not going to be a scorer. Well, with all due respect, as a third
Enjoy being
option,
wrong, everybody.
As a third option, especially as the size he is, he's going to draw so many different mismatches.
So offensively skilled. It's just not
it's
the
just
offensive
insane.
skill set that people are used to here in the States, but they'll get used to it.
I love what Chris says about him, by the way. He calls him the Larry Bird.
Yeah.
The modern day Larry Bird, because, like, again, it's his game is so different than Larry Bird, right?
Wait for it.
But it's just the beauty of the game. It's the way he understands the game. It's the passing. It's the driving to the hole. It's the power forward. It's the small forward. It's the point guard. It doesn't fucking matter. It's all in one. And Josh Giddey is proving that he can do it all. And that's what I'm so pumped about right now.
Buckle up, bitches. Going for a fucking ride. We'll see you soon.
Get it.